Obviously, I've already been asked by a number of people what 1,000 of Australia's greatest minds have actually come up with today. It's a huge question. Well, after 2 intensive sessions of lively debate, discussion and meditation amongst the various streams, firstly apart and then together, it is this. We think Barry Hall only should have got 6 weeks. I'm sorry, I'm in the creative stream. I just like making stuff up. No, the truth is it's been an amazing day and it is an incredible privilege to be here. I can assure you that the 1,000 participants are not short of ideas. I can also assure you that, speaking personally, I've found an incredible generosity of spirit and optimism for the future. So now let's find out how it's all going. Let's speak to some of my fellow participants, if they could make their way onto the stage. The first 4, and I'm going to sort of sit there and do a little bit of interview and we'll throw back to Hugh. Rachel Perkins, yes. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hello, hello.
Oh, is it working yet?
Soon, nearly.
It's just starting to warm up.
Yourselves.
Okay. Rachel, presuming your microphone is working, so you're in the creative stream?
Yes, I'm happily in the creative stream, and we've had quite an amazing day. It's been very intense. We've heard from a whole range of people. It's been a great opportunity, and actually Peter Garrett has been in with us through the process. So we've had an opportunity to sort of, take our ideas straight to the power in a way. So it's been very liberating feeling that you can have a voice and have an impact being heard. It's been fantastic.
And so what did you expect the summit to be like?
Well, I thought we'd get a hot meal, but but no, that was okay. I thought, the box lunches, yeah, that was fine. No, look, I thought it would be really challenging, and I wanted to come here because I'm an Indigenous person. I'm Aranda Kalkadu Nation, and when we come to these things, we speak from that perspective as Australians, but as Indigenous Australians. And leading up to the event, I feel like, we have the oldest continuing culture in the world, in terms of the creative stream. That's really significant. And we sort of take that for granted, but that is a powerful thing. Like, we beat the world, in that respect. So I wanted to bring that to the creative part of the process and get us to think about how, given that we have this great heritage, how we really get average Australians to accept Indigenous culture and experience as part of their identity. And so I was sort of pushing that, and without going on too much about it, I thought an elegant and cheap, as the Prime Minister said, way of achieving something like that would be to harness our existing cultural organisations and put Indigenous people on the boards of all of those organisations, whether it be the library or NIDAs or state institutions, galleries, whatever, and that would filter down, those seeds would be planted, and by 2020 Australians would be much more sharing in their right as Australians to have a part of that cultural heritage. So that's my rave. But look, and I worked with a bunch of other artists and creatives today, and we nutted out a whole range of strategies, and I thought, look, it's already happening. The conversation's begun, and it began here today. So great experience for me.
And one of the strengths that I've sort of found of the entire summit is the fact that you can have conversations with people that are absolutely not in your stream in any way, shape or form. Find common ground, similar ideas, whether it be in community or productivity. Have you spoken to many people from different streams?
Not a lot, but there was one suggestion that all the people doing the economic future should swap with all of the people in the artsy creative thing, and then we divide up the gross domestic sort of revenue and sort of turn everything on its head. But I don't think that'd be popular choice.
So having just sort of gone through the process this morning in the 2 sections, obviously there was sort of the first morning where we're kind of gathering ideas and then we're trying to distill them in the second. What are you hoping to achieve tomorrow? What are you looking forward to happening tomorrow?
Look, I think we need to distill the range of ideas to something that's actually achievable, because everyone comes with aspirations. There's a lot of different agendas, but I think, yeah, the challenge will be to distilling ideas that aren't necessarily just all about money, more money for this, more money for that, but working strategically together, forming alliances and partnerships to really look at all the sort of riches we have across industry and and maximise, the future. So I think it's about partnerships and, forward thinking and those sorts of things.
All that stuff.
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah. And how did you go? How did the group discussions go? Like within your group, was there,
Well, see, because we're the creative strands, so we're sort of, nice. But I've heard that in some of the other strands, there's been some intense arguments and not naming any names. But there's been people talking over each other. But we all sort of shut up and let each other have our say. And I think. Having people in our strand like, the Hugh Jackmans, Kate Blanchetts, people like Kim Williams, David Gonski, you've got these senior Australians, and having a conversation with them is a privilege. Senior
Kate, luckily Kate's not here to hear senior Australian.
Senior in experience and artistic merit. So...
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
I should just point out just quickly, Kate's back at home having 3 or 4 more children as we speak. So we can't be here just now. So just going back to what you would like to sort of see happening tomorrow, or the structure of it and how we're sort of trying to get sort of 3 or 4 big, strong ideas, how are you going to approach tomorrow?
Well, I'm going to be trying to sell my agenda. I mean, I'll be honest about that here. I'll be trying to push the Indigenous agenda and get that, particularly in a creative and arts sense, and get that, get that listened to. And I think I've had a good opportunity here. But I'm going to try and make that one of the priorities, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Rach. Cheers.
Thanks.
And Sherry. Rachel Perkins. And Sherry.
Yes.
And what stream are you in?
I'm in the economy stream.
The economy stream, which they're describing that as mauve, but that's brown, isn't it?
It's brown.
It's brown, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. So what's been going on in the economy stream?
Well, we had a breakout this morning, which I think we didn't expect. We had another theme thrown up. So there was a lot of energy, a lot of debate, lots of listening, which I think probably lots of people came into that group wondering how to get heard as well as how to listen. So it's had very good energy, though.
Right, it's interesting that theme of listening, because I know for myself I've really had to make a conscious effort to go, you say something and then absolutely listen to the other person rather than think about what you're going to say next. If you know what I mean, like it's so easy to do that, like just to go like, so here's my fantastic idea, and then they're talking, you're going, and here's another one, that kind of, it's very easy to do that. So I've really sort of tried to make an effort to really sincerely listen, because I think a huge part of the 2020 summit is that aspect of listening.
Well, I think it's hard as well, because everyone's come with such strong views, strong ideas. Everyone's been asked to distill down the one big idea. And of course, everyone wants to get their one big idea out on the table. To step back and listen and, in fact, build on other people's ideas, sometimes it's hard work. But I've watched it work really well today. And I came not sure how it was going to work. And I have to say it's worked much better than I thought.
Yeah, I was quite impressed of how sort of well structured it was and all that sort of stuff. Although you wouldn't want to expect less in Parliament, would you really? So, what are some of the things that you've learned today?
Ooh.
I know that's a tough one.
Well, I guess I've learned a lot about local government. We've had some very strong local government advocates today. I've learned a lot about the interconnectedness of the issues we're dealing with, and sometimes how difficult it is to pull it apart in the way we've been asked to. I've learned a lot also, I think, about the purest ideas are great and intellectual ideas are great, but as soon as you come to talk about implementation, particularly across levels of government, the degrees of difficulty sometimes exponentially go up. So there's been quite a lot of dialogue around what's really possible, so that whatever we come out with is doable, not just a fabulous idea that gets parked with, other fabulous ideas that have probably come up before.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting, that thing of like where you're aiming extremely high and then you're sort of going, and then you'll drop right back down to the bottom and sort of claw your way back up and all that.
Yeah, and we've stayed high, I think. I think everyone has really high aspiration for 2020. That's something that's held, but some of the aspiration and the execution have a bit of a gap, and I guess what we're trying to grapple with is how do you keep the aspiration high and not let go of the capacity to make it happen.
Right. Have you heard any, I suppose I'm not expecting this to come from the economic stream, but have you heard any completely wacky ideas?
Yeah, I have.
You have? Fantastic. Anything you'd like to...
Some of them at morning tea, though, so they weren't just from my stream.
Okay, so they're not really for broadcast, so to speak. Okay, no problem. So what connections have you made with people in other streams while you've been here?
Well, I've made connection with people I know who are in other streams, so there's been a bit of lobbying at morning tea, a bit of discussion, and I think the physical separation of the groups has made that more or less hard, depending on who you ended up having morning tea with. Yeah. But yeah, no, I've run into lots of people I know, and there's been lots of conversation that's broader than just the specific issues that each of us are dealing with, which, as it should be, it would be a waste of the opportunity if we couldn't do that.
Mm. Have you felt that thing I was sort of mentioning in my little speech about that, just that basic sort of goodwill kind of... I don't want to quote the castle and say the vibe, but the vibe.
There's been fantastic goodwill, and also everyone's sort of left their, if you like, their work and other egos at the door. So it's not a bad thing just having people's names without anything else attached to it. You don't get to play the roles that we sometimes play during our work days. Doesn't matter which stream you're in. So people have, I think, by and large, parked their egos and their personas almost behind and got into the spirit of it, probably in a way that the least optimistic about the conference would never have imagined, and in some ways probably better than even the most optimistic thought it could be.
Mm. Okay, thanks very much, Anne. Cheers. David Mann. Oh, I keep jumping in like that. David Mann, how are you?
I'm very well.
Now, I believe you're on the community stream, am I correct?
Communities, yes, strengthening communities, supporting families and social inclusion.
Quite the mouthful.
Quite a mouthful.
And so what are some of the challenges facing your stream?
Oh, look, I think one of the key challenges is very similar to the other streams, and I think this will come out of the whole summit, and that is to turn ideas into realities, into things that actually transform disadvantage, for example, in our stream, to work on disadvantage and to eliminate it, but to also see as part of that the benefits in other areas, in other streams, like economic, for example, environmental, to try and draw links and to make them real in terms of policies that are realistic and policies that will actually affect concrete change.
Right, okay. And so how has, from what you expected to happen, how different has it been actually? We've just finished the first day. Expectations met, not met, completely different to what you thought?
Well, the first thing is I actually think one of the myths was that people could only speak for a minute in the whole sort of... And that's complete rubbish because, in fact, everyone's had a pretty good go, I would say. Yeah. And more than a few minutes for so I think that there has the more important part of that is that there's been a real exchange, a genuine and important exchange of ideas, and I think something that's really surprised me has been the way in which that exchange of ideas has actually made for better ideas already. There's been very exciting in a sense that some of the great ideas that people have come with have been improved already. They've been integrated into other ideas. So those linkages in terms of concrete proposals are already there.
Right. Have you had any of that feeling, just to quote E.M. Forster for a moment, how do I know what I think till I see what I say? Have you experienced that? Like as in... Like when
wasn't in the script.
No, I know, but have you experienced a bit of that where, because, like suddenly, for example, in the creative stream, they went, okay, you're now speaking about this area in the afternoon, and we've gone, right, okay, boom, and you've got to suddenly focus on that, and you're kind of finding out a little bit as you go?
Yeah, absolutely, but this is part of it, is coming with ideas and building into other ideas as part of that, and it's exactly that idea of coming up with new things based on those principles. Principles of connectedness in our stream, principles of participation, of equality. But yeah, absolutely.
Right. Okay. And how do you think that the summit will contribute to Australia's public debate moving forward?
Well, the first thing is the importance of ideas. I think that there needs to be, and there is in this summit, a very, very important thing, and that is the importance of ideas, of conversation and debate. The conversation has begun. There's going to be a long way to go after the summit, and there's going to be a lot of expectations, a lot of proposals. But at the end of the day, it's ideas and transforming those ideas into concrete outcomes, things that matter most in people's lives. Things like family, the primacy of family, turning the idea of family into something that responds to all families in society in terms of social and economic policies and indeed environmental policies. There's a desperate need in all of it to make linkages, to integrate those issues and to have a far more holistic approach.
Great. David Mann, thank you very much.
Thank you.